Fast, efficient and affordable business-grade hosting solutions, domain registration, SSL certificates and more. We also monitor and provide website security and update services, website builds, email hosting amongst other sensational products. If you have a question about your web page or your presence on the internet in general, no job is too big or too small. Visit our website today, or better yet, contact us at blueoceanwebhosting.com.au and leave your website issues to us.
Big ones, little ones, fiddly ones, powerful ones, the ones for the car or the truck, caravan, boat, mobility scooter, solar system. In fact, for any kind of battery, go straight to Battery Central Ipswich. They'll even help you when you know what you need to power, but have no idea what'll do the job. Battery Central Ipswich, 280 Brisbane Street, West Ipswich, behind the Yellow Building. Expert advice, better batteries, best prices, every day. That's Battery Central Ipswich.
Howdy ho, and welcome to episode 752 of the Aussie Tech Heads. I'm Jason Oakley, and this is Will Tompkinson. Hey, Will.
I think your undies might be a little tight there. Like just saying.
Mr. Hanky, the Christmas spirit.
Well, you're half right.
He loves me, and I love you. Therefore, vicariously, he loves you. How's things going?
It has been a very, 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 very hot week.
It's our Christmas episode.
As you can tell by the
VZ demo in the background.
The two 3-colour reindeer and the 2-colour Santa.
Yeah.
Oh dear. No, it's that's Warlock's creation. If you wish to go and check it out, you can see it on his YouTube channel, or what else? Is it on your website?
Yep. On everything's on Twitter, Facebooks.
Ooh, Twitter and the Facebooks.
Yeah.
That's like everything ever.
Everything.
Oh dear. So yeah,
what have you been up to lately?
Other than sweating me cojones off, I tell you what, it was 43. I stopped looking when it hit 43 yesterday.
Yep.
95% humidity and no breeze.
That's nuts.
Considering the day before it was 27.
Yeah. It has been like that lately because we've just had overcasts and lots of very noisy thunder and lightning, but very, very little rain.
Yeah, it's been weird like that, hasn't it? Like,
and we're like, yeah, we're gonna finally get
nothing at all.
There's all the windows. You can see the lightning outside. Flash, flash, flash. Big boom, thunder. 10 minutes of rain. Yeah, that's enough. Off it goes.
Congratulations, you get nothing, and you get nothing.
Yeah. Although I can't complain because of my solar and batteries and stuff need to keep charged and produce the solars, so it's okay.
Yeah, this is true, but sometimes you prefer it to just figure out what it's doing. Like, you know, if it's going to rain, rain. If it's not going to rain, don't rain. Don't just like...
The only thing is because I'm being lazy and don't want to have to go water my new garden, so I'm just hoping it'll rain. Therefore, I don't have to go out there and do...
Well, I mean, that's always an option, I suppose.
At least my bees are doing okay. They don't like it too hot.
I forgot you had
cold.
natives.
Yeah.
They're doing all right. That's good to hear. Yeah, they don't like super hot weather.
I moved them under the pergola, so they're shaded.
The guy who was here owned this house before we did. He had native bees, and he had them down the back. There's like a mango tree, a macadamia nut, and something else, all like really tightly. So they were under there in the shade.
Yep.
And the neighbour over the back decided to cut down a couple of trees that were against the fence. And it opened up the afternoon sun. And within like 2 days, all these bees had been fried.
Oh, jeez. So, that's nice.
Yeah, he wasn't overly happy about that. He's like, dude, you could have at least told me you were going to do it. Like, you know I've got bees here. You know. Yeah. I've had them for years. Yeah. And he went away for 3 or 4 days. I mean, the homeowner obviously knew, like, you're not just wake up one morning and go, I'm going to cut all those trees down.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, yeah, so he wasn't impressed. It cost him a fair bit of money to get another hive because they're not cheap little buggers. Like, this is going back a few years, but they kind of are now because they're kind of happy to give them to people to look after, but this is back before that was a thing.
It was going to be inevitable, wasn't it? Because I always, for some reason, enjoyed the Minecraft bees.
Well, you do in
Valheim.
Valheim as well. You got
Yeah.
beehives in that. Mind you,
The bees are happy.
you shoved a queen bee in the chest. I'm not so happy she is about that.
What's she doing in there? I thought I made all the hives with all of them.
No,
I have
it's
to
still
go
in
find
the
out which chest it's in.
yeah, in the little one that we're building the new house for, in the original one we had there.
Ah,
Yeah, there. That makes perfect sense to everybody who's listening on it.
not to me.
As long as you don't need to understand. You never understand. It doesn't matter.
But we're still having fun getting chased around. You're getting chased by trolls and
Oh,
600 greylings and grey dwarfs.
it's like a parade. It's like a parade down Main Street on New Year's. Like, it was ridiculous.
I go off to make some dinner and I come back and Will's like, help me. They're chasing me. There's a bloody big blue giant troll coming after me and hundreds of these little
I can handle a heap of greylings, or I can handle a troll, but I can't handle a troll and a heap of greylings.
No. So we're moving into the plains, which is even more dangerous. That's got to be better, right?
What could possibly go wrong?
But at least I wandered around a lot with some antifreeze potions and found a vein of silver ore. So now we've got wolf pelt jackets that stop us freezing. You don't have the you're now cold happen anymore.
Yeah, which means you don't lose all your stamina.
Yep. And you can go up into the snowy mountains, and we've got a lot of things to do up in there. Then we got to beat Bone Mass, great big poisonous dude, and then Moda, the dragon. We have to take her on and kill her off to get stuff too. So
Moldor.
should be interesting.
It's
We're going to die a lot.
It's a very interesting game. Like it's, oops, sorry. Like it's not.
My stomach does that sometimes too.
Yeah, I know, right? It's sort of one of those games that, I don't know, it's also hard to explain. When you sort of start playing, you're like, oh yeah, it's just like, a million other
survival game.
a million other survival games that I've played. But once you actually start playing it and start getting into it, and start sort
You
of,
only buy it once. You don't have to keep paying for it.
yeah, and that's a good thing too. It's not like a subscription service or something. It's
See, he's punching a tree, which you do in Minecraft, but we later discovered you could just pick up sticks off the ground.
yeah. I mean, you can punch a tree, but man, it takes that a long time. But yeah, I mean, look, it is early
And
access still.
it's been nominated for Game of the Year 2021,
Yeah,
I should say. So
I saw
everyone
that.
go vote on Steam. We want it to win. It's fantastic.
It's still in early access, and there's a heap of mods available for it, which really enhances the. Well, there's a lot of mods that can make you do a lot of things that the game's not meant to do, which is fine. But there's a lot of just
Quality of life.
quality of life and like gameplay mods that just make the game do things that it should have done out of the box. Like for example, currently the way the game's set up, you can't run away from something and change your weapon. You have to stop to change your weapon.
And then they kill you.
Which doesn't really make any sense. So there's a mod that just makes it so that you can change the weapon while you're running. Just simple things like that. Like we're not adding health, we're not
Cheats.
adding stamina, not adding weapons we can't get early game. Things like there's a gardening mod that just lets you plant the plants at the right distance apart so that they're not too crowded and they don't die. Otherwise, all you do is waste all your seeds and your crops, and you have crop failures. So there's just a few things like that that just help with making the game,
Yeah, this all started off, one guy 3 years ago just started up Unity, and he's like, I'm going to make a game. Let's make it kind of Viking-like, because it's the area where he lives. They got a lot of Viking lore and stuff like that, and the monsters and things are all from Viking legends and that. And it was just like stick figure guy walking around. It kind of looks like it does in this video here with all the greenery and everything. And he put a demo up online and said, what does anyone think of this? It's kind of like the way that Minecraft started the same. Notch was just stuffing around with something. He put it up on YouTube and he's like, what do you guys think? And they're like, yeah, let's make a game. So he kept working on it, and then he joined Iron Gate Studios and started to make it full time, and now it's published by Coffee Stain. And yeah, it's really, really good.
The one thing I I'm torn in two minds with is the third person, first person thing.
Yep.
There are situations where you're on the boat, for example, where you need to be zoomed out fully in third person to control the boat properly.
Yep.
But there's a lot of situations where I'd like to. Well, there's a lot of situations. Sorry, I hadn't seen that actually happen before. There's a lot of situations where I'd like to be in first person because it would make things like when you're trying to cut down a tree and you've got trees surrounding you and you can't get the camera where you want it, but there's no first person option. Where in Minecraft you can switch between third, like if you're mining, for example, you go first person because it's easier, but if you're doing something where you might be building and you want to rotate the camera, you can go to fifth person. So there's a place for both, but there's just no first person. I think this game would benefit greatly from something as simple as that.
Yeah, that's why I got that mod on. I used it a lot today when I was building the new place. I was building through trees and I couldn't because the leaves were in front of me. I couldn't see the ground where I'm trying to build on. So I went, zoomed into first person, built a few things, zoomed back out, do some more, zoom in, zoom out.
And sometimes, third person's great for building because you can get onto a spot you couldn't get if you were in first person. So they both have their advantages, but obviously it's still an early access game. I can't remember how much it was. $40, $35, something like that.
Yeah, I was looking on Reddit and people were talking about Steam Game of the Year, and everyone's like, people love this so much more than people are trashing on Cyberpunk 2077 because had so many bugs and a lot of AAA games.
What was that other one? That No Man's Sky was another one.
Yeah. And everyone's like, they pale in comparison. This just does what it's supposed to. It's still early access. They've got a roadmap, and apparently some of the hardcore beta tester type people were like, well, they're not doing the roadmap fast enough. And they're like, well, hang on. They're getting everything right, and they're bringing out pieces and bits not as fast as they said they would. They never said this is going to be released next year, completely finished game. They're just going to keep building on it like Minecraft did. And so if you just ignore people expecting the roadmap to have everything next month or something, they just had the Home and Hearth update come out, I think it was about April this year, which added on a lot of furniture and stuff in the house and made things a lot nicer and stuff.
It's on sale at the moment. Until the new year, it's on sale at the moment, 25% off. So it's only it's only like $21 or something at the moment. So it's definitely worth getting. And the specs.
We run our own server.
Yeah, you can run your own server very, very easily, or you can play It's not really an MMOP per se, but it does have online servers. Yep. Some are PvP, some are not, depending on what you want to do. Yes, trolls do that a lot. But it's relatively low end, like a Radeon 7970, which is nearly a 10-year-old card now. I'm actually playing it on my second computer. I've tried. It's a little framey, but it's playable on a 7770. And that's only a 2 gig card. And that's at least a 10-year-old card. On a AMD FX, I want to say, I can't remember exactly what it is. It's like a quad-core 4 gig, something like that. Yep. No, not even. No, it's not that. It's like a quad-core 3 gig. It's a slower system with 8 gig of RAM, and it's framey, but it's certainly playable. And there are some that's on default graphics. Obviously, turn the graphics settings down, it's playable better. The one thing I would recommend if you do have a beefier system, like at least a 3 gig i5 or a Ryzen 5 3 gig, something like that, 16 gig of RAM, a GTX 1080 or GTX but like 1060, a Radeon 550. There's a HD graphics pack. Even if you don't want to put mods on, I strongly recommend you put that. What is it?
Makes it look gorgeous.
Willie's something or other pack. Yep. But what it does, it makes the game look better, but it really fixes the lighting issues that this game has. This game has horrible, especially massive contrasting issues between light and dark. Yep. It really fixes that issue, and it makes it look better. That's fine. You can do things like turn off the swaying grass if it's interfering with graphics and stuff. But the main thing is, it really fixes the whole light dark.
And the light sun rays from this.
You can turn all that on and off, yeah, raise and whatever. I have it
Willy
off.
Bucks HD Valheim.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, no, you definitely need that. It makes a huge difference, just to the playability of the game, because you can actually see, even of a night, when you're in the swamp of a night and it's raining and with fog, you can still see. Whereas
The kids will love playing this too, right?
well, Cam watches me. He can't quite. He's tried to play it. It's a bit too complex. There's too many keys going on, but he loves watching me play it.
Yeah, it's not scary.
And I don't think it'll be that far. I mean, he can play Minecraft perfectly fine, so he's not that far away from playing this. It's just at the moment the key binding. I guess you could reconfigure them like Minecraft, sort of, but not
That's
really.
That's why I got this.
Yeah,
Razor Tartarus.
I'm seriously considering getting one of those. I think that would be a big.
It's good for my RSI. I've been typing on computers 24/7 nearly for 30, 40 years.
But not even that. I think in general it would just help with function, because you're literally using 3/4 of the keyboard. Yep. Like the way the key bindings are laid out, you're using so much of your keyboard. So you're either taking one hand off the mouse to do something, or you're taking one hand off your movement controls.
Yep. Put it all in the one spot.
Yeah, I think that would help. But anyway, that's this week on Steam.
Don't vote for any other games.
But no, seriously, it's definitely, if you're bored this holidays and you got to spare $20, go and grab it, because it will. Yes, it has a steep learning curve, and it will take you.
You'll die a lot.
A good 12 hours of gameplay to actually wrap your head around the concept of the game.
There'll be a lot of swearing.
But all of a sudden it'll click and you go, hey, actually this game is okay. So it's definitely worth the effort, I think.
What does mine say? I've played a total of 130.1 hours.
You probably.
I don't play any other games besides Minecraft that much.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say I don't, but I do. I play a lot of different games. Like even this afternoon with Bub, we played Live for Speed. And speaking of games that have held up well, that's an 11-year-old game, and it holds its own with any modern game that's come out. It's a racing game.
Yep.
Live for Speed, BeamNG Drive, and Stranded Deep, and Minecraft. So this afternoon, in 2-hour gaming session, we played 4 games.
Nice.
How many hours have I got up on this thing? Does it tell me? No. Oh, yeah. I have played 113 hours.
Oh, you're 20 behind. Time to catch up, son.
Mind you, in all honesty, there's probably 20 hours AFK there. Waiting for gardens to grow for 6 hours. That's one thing that bugs me. It takes 6 hours for blueberries to grow back. But a lot of the stuff will progress even when you're not logged in. So there's certain things that will happen even if you're not logged in, that they'll continue in game time.
Yep.
But things like, which crops, for example, will grow in game time, not in real time. But blueberries and strawberries and stuff like that are 6 hours real time, not game time. So if you log out overnight and come back in the morning, they still haven't grown, but your crops have.
Yeah.
It's like, hang on a minute. That's a bit messed up, but yeah. 'Tis all fun. Fun.
Thanks to all our supporters for donating and stuff.
Our sponsors. Well, I mean, I guess they technically are, aren't they? And no, we didn't use your money to buy Steam games.
We gave it to Glenn for his Christmas present, so he can buy a computer that actually can run something like Valheim instead of...
Although, if his Facebook post anything to go by, he's buying a bloody stand-up desk.
What?
Yeah, one of those adjustable uppy downy ones.
I don't think I could stand up all day at a computer.
I do it. What's funny you said say that. I do at work. Like I don't have my desk is stand up height at work. I have no trouble standing up all day at work. Well, doing random stuff on the computer, whatever. But the first thing I do when I come into my computer room is to sit on my chair and I don't want to move. Like it's so
in your head.
I'll have to hit up Glenn and see if you spend all your hard earned money on a stand up desk. Because if he is, I might go and borrow it. I'll go your halves. I'll cut it in half. I'll send it after you.
I'll have half. Should we do some news?
Shall we do some news? You ask all the tricky questions, don't you?
New South Wales Government has launched its new Identity Recovery Unit, IDSupport New South Wales, to streamline the process of replacing compromised credentials. The unit, first announced in October, will act as a single point of contact for citizens who have fallen victim to identity theft or had their personal data compromised in a data breach. It'll work with New South Wales agencies and Identity and Cyber Support Service ID Care to replace compromised identity documents and mitigate the risk of stolen credentials being used. Minister for Digital and Customer Service, Victor Dominello, said the unit was important for dealing with identity crime, which he described as growing and increasingly sophisticated. New South Wales one-stop shop for government services, Service New South Wales, knows this firsthand, having experienced a phishing attack that compromised the data of over 103,000 customers last year. Around 100 Service New South Wales and Department of Customer Services staff were seconded to a dedicated hypercare team after that incident. But even with these support mechanisms, Service New South Wales was still unable to notify 40% of the customers who had the personal information stolen. Hope they can recover it.
It's
I don't know what the recovery entails, because if someone's got all your stuff, it's not like you can redo your birth certificate for a different date.
But on that note, right, here's the dumb part about a birth certificate. As long as I know the date and the hospital that somebody's born and their full name, I can get anybody's birth certificate.
Yeah.
All I need to do is request through, whether it's any state, Queensland, New South Wales, whatever, it doesn't matter. Request through birth, deaths and marriages that I've lost my birth certificate, I'd like a replacement copy. I'm sending
you pay $30 or something.
You spend your $30. I'm sending my mother, brother, friend, whatever, in to pick it up on my behalf. Here's their name. They'll be coming in to pick it up for me, so you don't have to send it because they're going to do it for me.
Oh, for me, they just mailed it as well.
They can, but if you don't want a hard address to send it to, you don't need to. So you can literally be completely anonymous, give them $30, rock up, be this fake person that say you are because they don't ask for ID, pick up anybody's birth certificate and take it home. And
that's your ID now.
And you're now that person.
Now, how does Service New South Wales recover that with this special thing?
Now I've got this person's driver's license, their birth certificate, so now I'm going to go and get the driver's license, and then once I've got those, I'll go and get my power and my internet put in their name. Then once I've got that, I'll go and open a bank account.
Yeah.
And now I'm this person.
Just access the current bank account if there's something in there.
And now what?
Yeah.
You know, like...
You can't undo all of that.
The concept
Somebody takes out $10,000 of your account because they've got your details and they spend it. Is ID Care from Service New South Wales going to recover that money?
The concept of identity theft is absolutely atrocious. And this is why there's been hundreds of, well, probably thousands of cases of people... Well, I don't know how many have been caught. There'd be thousands of people doing it. There's been dozens of cases of people being caught having multiple IDs at Centrelink. Because it's literally that easy to have somebody else's ID. So you can have 12 Centrelink payments, and they're never going to... If you don't do something dumb, like schedule all your appointments to see the same person on the same day. That's how the last chick got caught.
Oh.
She said to the...
That'll save her time.
Yeah.
I'm Mary now. No, I'm Tammy.
She literally only come into town like once a month to do shopping or something.
Yep.
And she scheduled those interviews, booked them all online for the same day because she's only in town that day. And then when she rocked up for like the third time with the same person, they're like, hang on a minute.
You got 3 names.
So
I'm triplets.
Yes. But yeah, so I don't know. And then even if, as you said, if somebody does data breach and they get your details, how do you recover? How do you determine who the correct person is?
And what is recovery? I don't understand the concept of...
What do you argue to the person who took it and go, hey, can I have that back, please?
Yeah.
So dumb. Yeah, I don't... You know, based on that, though, the... like, the amount of breaches and the amount of... you know, things that are... Passwords that get... Like this one, for example. Police found 225 million stolen passwords hidden on a hacked cloud server. Compromised credentials were donated to Have I Been Pwned to make breaches harder. The UK National Crime Agency and National Cybercrime Unit have discovered 225 million cache of stolen emails and passwords and handed them to Have I Been Pwned, the free service for tracking credentials stolen and leaked through post-data breaches. They've become part of their existing 613 million passwords, which offers website operators the hash of the passwords to ensure users don't use them while creating new accounts. Individuals can use to see whether or not their passwords have been leaked in previous breaches. but the technique has been used to sorry, why does because there's an ad there that's covering up the rest of the text because bad programming. The requirement aims to address the increasing use of credential surfing, where criminals list large lists. List large lists of leaked and commonly used username and password combinations.
Try saying that 3 times fast.
I couldn't say it once. The technique has been used to compromise more than 50,000 online bank accounts in 2017. The FBI warned last year, flowers by Irene, and works because many people still use the same password to protect multiple accounts. If any of those accounts protected with common passwords is breached, a person's other accounts become vulnerable. This technique became a problem decades ago after billions of credentials were leaked online following major data breaches. What do you mean decade ago? Literally happened like a week ago. So yeah. But this article actually basically, NCA handed the compromised passwords to HB's operator Tony Hunt, who verified NCC's findings. The passwords are not in the existing database, they're new passwords. New passwords include, and I love this part, they tell you what they are. New passwords included in the cache set include Flamingo228, Alexi 2005, 911-77700, 123 test, and AGANESQ.
Okay.
Againisk. I don't know. But the funny thing is there's some concern now because the Have You Been Pwned website obviously has these username and passwords.
Yep.
They're hashed, but they still have this data. Currently, it's a 17.2 gig file set. And theoretically, any security business can request this set to check their information. And it's regularly downloaded by FBI and law enforcement for investigations and stuff like this.
Yep.
But my question is, what happens when there you go, the 847,223,402 passwords that they have in stock. What happens when that list gets out into the public? Which it will, because the FBI using anything the FBI touches will go and end up in public. I mean, that's just a rule. And that's if we take the prevalence counts into consideration, 5,579,399,834 occurrences of compromised passwords.
Jeez.
So there's a lot.
Yep.
And that's going to, I mean, obviously they're trying to minimize that happening, but there's no way you can stop that list from getting out into the wild eventually. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And for many people who haven't changed that username and password, it might have been compromised, but might never have been acted upon. Therefore, there's been no reason to change it because there hasn't been a breach of that particular service. That's not bad fodder for somebody who wants to go to the trouble of getting it.
Yeah. I think useful things, if you've got something like Bitwarden or the LastPass, they tend, because they know what accounts, what companies you've got accounts at, so they can provide you with your username password. They'll tell you if that company has had a breach.
Yeah.
And then you can link to Have I Been Pwned, so they can notify you of stuff. I think
Chrome does that by default as well.
Yeah, I think the Nord security I've got on a VPN I've got on my phone also pops up every now and then. Goes, hey, one of your things has been stolen. It's
by the way,
this email address.
Completely off topic, but if you like cold press iced coffee, the Barumba Organics.
I don't think I've tried any.
It's the best cold press. Not only cold press iced coffee, which is in itself a different category. It's the best iced coffee. Full stop. No sugar.
Yep.
Full cream milk, literally with cream floating on top. Properly cold, not brewed, cold pressed iced coffee. It's not bitter. It's beautifully sweet.
Right.
It craps all over those like dares and stuff that pretend to have this stuff. This stuff is absolutely amazing. Barumba Organics. I don't know. I know you can get it in Queensland. I don't know where else you can get it. They are only a small. They're only a small farm. But Yeah, definitely worth trying to find. If you can't get that, there's one called Hunt and Switch or Hunt something. Also worth the effort of trying to find. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know. Look, but at what point does it's almost to the point now where we accept data breaches as a daily occurrence anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
your stuff's out there. All of it.
How much effort do you go to protect it? Do you just go sort of, at this point, is it just a half-assed sort of whatever?
You do everything you can, and then all the companies you trust with your stuff screw up.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? Like, technically, if it doesn't matter whatever username and password I have on my computer, and even if my passwords were clear text, it shouldn't matter because I'm the only one that can see that. But when I give that username and password to a corporation, I expect them to do the right thing with it, not store it in clear text on a server that hasn't got a password on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know, Queensland government. Not mentioning any names.
They're good at it. The NBN Co said the specific number of presidents in NBN Co said the specific number of premises in fibre to the node areas that are eligible for a free up fibre upgrade under its $2.9 billion overbuild program is not known before construction is completed. The operator has progressively released lists of cities and towns that are currently served by fibre to the node infrastructure, where it says eligible premises in parts of these locations will be able to request a full fibre service. With upgrades now officially under trial, it is still extremely difficult for fibre to the node users, even in named trial suburb locations, to determine if they're eligible or not, and which retail service providers are participating. A Whirlpool forum post said yesterday they'd been proactively offered what appears to be a place on the trial. The identity of the RSP is unclear. The reason for the vacuum of information may be that the NBN code doesn't really know which premises are going to be eligible or not. The company made the surprise reveal late yesterday in response to questions asked by Labor senators during the most recent Senate estimates hearings. So they don't know. They don't know. Some people will get update. Don't worry about it.
Speaking of trials, I was going to say you're a friend of mine, but I can think of his real name, but not his handle. Striker. He's actually on the trial for the Starlink. Yep. He loves it. He thinks it's fantastic because he's got a mobile food van, so it auto tracks. You get to where you go and you set it up. It finds the satellite and he's got internet wherever he goes.
Yep. And he needs that for his Square or whatever FPOS he uses.
Yeah, because sometimes you can't get 3G or whatever. And yeah, no, that's great. Actually, I know a lot of people who have requested the trial. He's the only person I know who's got it.
Oh, right.
I know my brother and sister are still waiting on it, and one of my cousins is still waiting. Yeah, I know probably a dozen people, and he's the only one I know who's actually been approved. So yeah.
It won't happen overnight, but it will happen.
It's an interesting concept. You see that I was reading... I actually had a thought about this earlier, but I was reading an article the other day about one of the new estates they're putting in just west of here that does really hardly even has phone, let alone internet at all currently. They're on copper to their sub-exchange, which is on copper to our exchange, which is on copper to Ipswich. So it's like it's like 300, like 200 k's of copper. So the internet doesn't exist out there. They're actually putting a new estate in there because there's a new shopping centre and stuff going on the highway.
Yep.
And they're looking at using Starlink. When you purchase a house, you get
Starlink
signed up to Starlink.
Oh, nice.
So that's got an interesting... I mean, you got to think from a developer's point of view, it's going to be so much easier for them because they don't have to try and fit infrastructure in.
That's one less thing, yeah. And they can say it's available now instead of, well, NBN will get around to installing it, and maybe you'll get fibre to the curb or the node or
maybe
to
not.
your house or...
or probably not, yeah.
Or you might be lucky and just get a tin can with a bit of string.
Yeah, that touches every corner that you go around.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. So they're offering Foxtel. Well, I guess it's still Foxtel. What would have been Austar, which is satellite.
Yep.
Which gives you your free-to-air channels plus your pay TV channels, and they're offering Starlink. And every house is going to have like a 20,000 litre water tank or something.
Excellent.
As well, and every house is on
solar
septic instead of sewage. So basically, every house is almost fully self-contained, and all they've got to run is power lines. I mean, yeah, they'll all have the standard solar package and stuff, but they're all just going to basically have to run power lines to every house. That's it. They don't have to build an entire structure an entire infrastructure there just to.
Now, does that mean their rates are cheaper because they don't have all of this other stuff?
Their rates will be cheaper technically for lack of services, but also because they're rural. Once you go past basically where we are, Rosewood sort of area, we're semi-rural, but our rates are still high. They're not as high as Ipswich, but they're higher than once you go further. Once you go further in the rural, they get lower again.
Right.
But they're bigger blocks of land, so you're probably paying something similar to what I'd be paying, but you're on a block 3 times the size. They're like 2,500 square blocks or 3,000 square blocks or something like that. They're pretty big. But I thought that was an interesting little push. You know, you buy a house, okay, it's a $500,000 house and land package, but you never really have to worry about internet. Or, I mean, okay, yes, you are obviously restricted. You have to then have Foxtel. You can't. There's no TV signal out there if you don't have Foxtel.
You can get all of the over-the-air.
No, there's no
10 catch up.
There's no.
10 play catch up. SBS.
Assuming you use Starlink as your internet.
Yes.
So you are kind of restricted to some point because there's no mobile phone signal out there. So there will be only the phones that support talking over Wi-Fi. Yep. There's no actual...
Which is most of the phones nowadays, mind you.
Yeah, pretty much. There's no actual... no free-to-air out there, so you basically have to have Foxtel, or you have to have Starlink internet because you can't have any other internet because there's no other internet. So... You are kind of restricted at the same time, but at least it's...
restricted but free.
If you think about it, you're probably paying the difference in rates. You're probably paying in services because you're going to be paying $100 a month for your Foxtel and $100 a month for your internet. So that's probably dearer than paying a little bit extra on your rates anyway.
Yeah.
So, but anyway. Speaking of internet, the internet site Duckduckgo, which, you know, is a very, very good search engine if you...
Better than that other one that pretends to do no evil.
I use Google for mainstream searches. Anything that's regular, how to do this, how to do that, whatever. Yep, fine, not a problem. I use Google. If I want to find a specific data set or a specific piece of information or something that's not mainstream, I'll use DuckDuckGo because its ability to find stuff that Google mysteriously doesn't understand the search term. I can literally take the first line of a web page I was looking at the other day on DuckDuckGo. It was one of the first results. I put the first line into Google. Can't find it. I'm like, no, you can find it. You just choose not to. Yeah. But so DuckDuckGo is building its own... building its own desktop browser. It takes aims at Google Chrome, but insists it isn't going to fork Google's Chromium project. Which explain, I mean, they're pretty privacy heavy, so I'm not surprised they wouldn't. Privacy-focused search engine DuckDuckGo has offered a first look at its forthcoming desktop browsing app that promises simple default privacy settings. Either I'm really tired or I'm just having a bad day. Or both. DuckDuckGo's CEO Gabriel Weinberg details his desktop browser and blog post recapping its milestones for 2021, including 150 million downloads of its all-in-one privacy apps for iOS and Android and Chromium extensions. Weinberg attempts to distinguish the DuckDuckGo desktop browser from the likes of Chromium-based Brave and Mozilla by arguing it's not a privacy browser. Instead, it's just a browser that offers robust privacy protection by default and works across search. It's an everyday browsing app that respects your privacy because there's never a bad time to stop companies from spying on you. Weinberg offers a few clues about what the internal underpinnings of DuckDuckGo desktop browser, or app as she calls it, but also leaves out a lot of details. As he calls it, sorry, but also leaves out a lot of details. He says it won't be based on Chromium, the open source project underpinning Google's Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Brave, Vivaldi, and about 30 other browsers. Midori. Actually, no, Midori is based on Firefox, I think. Instead of forking Chromium or anything else, we're building a desktop app around OS-provided rendering engines, like on mobiles, allowing us to strip away a lot of unnecessary cruft and clutter. Ooh, cruft. that's accumulated over the years on major browsers. It's not clear what desktop OS provider rendering engine she's referring to, but it's not a trivial task to build. To build a desktop browser without Chromium's Blink rendering engine. This asked Microsoft when it launched its Chromium-based Edge browser last year. Apple, meanwhile, uses WebKits for Safari and desktop and requires all non-Safari browsers on OS, including Chrome, to use WebKit. ZDNet has asked DuckDuckGo for clarification, but the communications manager has provided some details to The Verge about rendering engines. macOS and Windows both now offer website rendering APIs, WebView and WebView 2, that any application can use to render a website. That's what we're using to build our apps on desktop. Microsoft's implementation of WebView 2 in Windows allows developers to embed web technologies such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in native Windows apps. WebView 2 on Windows uses Microsoft Edge as a rendering engine to display websites in those apps. We're building the desktop app from the ground up. The OS provided rendering APIs means that anything beyond websites rendering, e.g. tabs and bookmark management, navigation controls, passwords, we have to build ourselves. So DuckDuckGo browser rendering will rely on Edge or Chromium for Windows and Safari WebKit on macOS. That's the rendering. So if they're doing pictures or videos or music, anything like that, that's not effectively the actual website, basically. And Johnson highlights the approaches and forking Chromium. A clear example of forking a project, Google's creation of Blink, where it used the open source code behind WebKit. DuckDuckGo releases new desktop browser. Weinberg assures that compared to Chrome and DuckDuckGo, the DuckDuckGo for desktop is cleaner, way more private, and early tests have found it significantly faster. Which wouldn't surprise me. Chrome, years ago, in what are we talking, 2001, something like that, when Chrome first came out,
Yep.
It was blindingly fast. Like, there was nothing. And I even remember the ads for it where these dropped Apple, I think it was, on the mouse click and the page loaded before the thing bounced or whatever it was.
Yep.
Chrome has slowed down a lot over the years. I do have to admit that. But yeah, absolutely. If DuckDuckGo brings out a web browser, guess what I'm swapping to?
Yep. Sounds good.
For several reasons. One is that DuckDuckGo natively implements, because Chrome nerfs DuckDuckGo somewhat. If you use it's the default search engine for Mozilla? For Opera, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Let me open my...
Probably Brave too.
Let me open my Opera and have a look here. Yes, it's the I know. Yeah, DuckDuckGo. If you use the search bar at the top, DuckDuckGo is the default for Opera. Which is how I generally use it, because when you use it in Chrome, I don't know. There's something about it that doesn't work the same. It works much better if you use it on Opera for whatever reason.
Right.
Plus, Opera by default has Opera, if you prefer. By default has a built-in VPN. Now, Firefox has a built-in VPN, but you have no control over it. You can't control its location. You can't control anything about it. At least the Opera one, you can control the location you want it to be in, right down to the country you want to access. There's a lot more control in that. So I'm hoping DuckDuckGo implements a lot of that stuff. So it's basically the reverse of Opera. It's DuckDuckGo running a VPN, running DuckDuckGo.
Yep.
That's going to be... You want a secure and reliable connection. That's going to give it to you.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's looking forward to that one.
Cool. Telstra has participated in a technical 5G trial that enabled it to achieve a theoretical maximum upspeed link of 986 megabits per second. Enabling the configuration commercially would enable Telstra to more than double the current uplink throughput through its 5G network. This is particularly important for supporting applications and services that involving uploading vast amounts of data. Telstra's Group Executive of Networks and IT, Nikos Katanikis, said the near 1 gigabit per second mark set a new record in the uplink on a commercial 5G network. The demonstration used Ericsson's new radio dual connectivity software with uplink 4-component carrier aggregation, in which 4 contiguous carriers of 100 megahertz are combined, resulting in a higher data speeds. It used both millimeter wave and 3.6 gigahertz spectrum.
So
Theoretical.
So the 5G didn't actually reach the gigabit at all. but multiple technologies combined with the 5G did. Gee, who would have thought?
And multiple connections to the 5G tower from the one phone.
Yeah, to the tower. As soon as it left the tower, it dropped back down to 10 meg again. But at that tower, I hate anything that starts with theoretical. Yep. You know full well that it's never going to happen in reality, because if it did, they wouldn't start with theoretical.
They just like to have a lot of interesting, exciting news come out that doesn't mean anything.
Oh, look, it's not even that. I can theoretically get 10 gigahertz connection from this computer to that computer too. I just got to put more network cards in it, bypass the router, plug them together, and it'll work.
Yeah.
Use a mushroom software to combine all the network cards so that all 10 gigabit cards see each other.
Yep.
In theory, it works perfectly fine. In practice, it would still work, but it's completely useless because what am I going to do? Like, my NAS can't handle that sort of speed. My router can't handle that sort of speed. My internet can't handle that speed. None of the programs I use will transfer data at that speed. My hard drives wouldn't even transfer data at that speed. So,
but theoretically,
I could do it. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I guess, okay, yes, it's advancing technology or whatever you want to say, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just cynical in my old age, but I don't see the point. Like, instead of spending 100 engineers, $1 million and 12 months making that happen, why didn't they figure out a way to boost the current infrastructure?
Yeah.
Because they're using the Ericsson pipeline, which they don't even have implemented anyway, as far as I'm aware. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. My research that I spent 10 minutes researching, but they don't even use that hardware in any of their systems. So they're not even using the back end that they're saying they can claim this speed with. So
I hope they're not using Huawei. Apparently they're naughty.
And Xiaomi. Oh, no, only in America. They're fine in Australia.
Oh,
everywhere else in the world they're fine. It's just America they can't use them. But yeah, speaking of technology, did you just see that the world's first SMS sold as an NFT for $150,000 at a Paris auction house?
Oh, nice work. I saw an NFT sold last week for $3,000 instead
it was supposed
of
to be. Yeah, I saw that.
Whoops.
Reading Merry Christmas, the message was sent by British programmer Neil Papworth from his computer on December 3rd, 1992, to Richard Jarvis, of course, then director of UK telecommunications company Vodafone.
How timely, Christmas.
Jarvis received the message on his Orbital 901 cell phone during the company's Christmas function. The NFT is a replica of the original communications protocol that transmitted the SMS. I can show you a picture of it quickly. That's what the original phone looked like.
It's pretty bright since it puts the writing on his face.
Yeah, I know, right? You're going the old hacker style there.
Yeah, hacker movie.
But I thought that was interesting that why not, right?
Yeah.
You got the right crowd for it. And by the way, 10 points to anybody who recognises that. This is for the 7 people that watch the podcast on YouTube.
The vital connection.
Remember they had yellow and blue. The blue phones were blue phones were local calls only, and yellow phones could do local and international and national. Oh, it was the other way around. I can't remember. No, I think it was blue phones could only do local calls. Like a lot of the little general stores and mum and dad stores had the blue ones.
Yeah. And
the pubs and clubs and stuff had the yellow ones and the blue one beside it. So if you're only ringing your mate down the road, you could use the blue one, and it was like, whatever it was, 20 cents, I think it was when it first happened.
Yep.
And then you could use the blue one, and you had the gold one, and yeah, they would put in like, that's why it had the follow-up button. Because if you ran out and it beeped at you 3 times, you could put your money and then press the follow a call, and it would continue. But if you ran out of money, if you hung up the phone before you ran out of money, you could press the follow-on button and make another call to somebody else and use the remaining credits.
Oh, that's good.
So it's actually pretty advanced for what it was. But those were fun. And the old very first, when they first implemented the card readers into the green payphones,
Yep.
the military spec payphones that they gave the military to test to see if they could blow them up. The very first phone cards they had didn't have the magnetic strip in them. The very first phone cards they had punched holes in to tell you how much they were in them, but it literally used like a time clock punch card reader to read the holes. So you could tape up the holes and it would refill the card. And then Telstra went, or Telecom went, let's do something about that. So then they put a magnetic strip in it and made it a normal card. But yeah, that was funny.
It's like notching your single side
floppy disk. I had a. I can't remember. What
I did
computer it was.
use scissors for a while, but then it got too fiddly. So I'm like, notch.
I actually had an old. I want to say it was an Amstrad. It was a while ago. I think it was an Amstrad, and it only had a single head in the floppy drive. So used to trip people out was you could actually take the disc out later on when they bought out double-sided discs, double-sided double densities. You could take the disc out, flip it over, put it in, and read the other side because the reader only had one head in it. So you'd have to notch the other side of the disc so it would recognise the notch when you flipped it over and put it back in the other upside down. So that was pretty cool. Double your pleasure. Double notch for your pleasure. I think that's how it works. Anyway, Facebook. So I saw this story, and everybody knows I'm going to do it because I've been ragging on Facebook for years. Facebook finally admits the truth. The fact checkers that social media use to police what Americans... I don't know how this says Americans, as if nobody else uses Facebook. It's what people read and watch are just opinion. That's thanks to the lawsuit brought on by celebrated journalist John Stossel. He exposed the left's supposed battle against misinformation as a farce. Stossel posted a pair of videos that touched the third rail of the liberal politics, climate change. Neither questioned whether climate change is real, but each talked about other issues, namely forest management, technology, etc. Yet third-party Facebook contracts to review these pieces, science feedback flagged them as false. Our favourite, lacking context. Why science feedbacks didn't like Stossel's tone. That is, you can't write anything about climate change unless you say the worst disaster in history. For this, Facebook bans or minimises Stossel's reporting to program who are making revenue. Then when sued, Facebook throws up its hands and says, not our problem. His real beef is with science feedback. You see, we wash our hands of it. As to that fact check label we slapped on your piece, it's Facebook's response to Stossel that argues, well, that's protected option under the First Amendment. The post has faced the same gauntlet too many times. In February 2020, we published a column saying about COVID leak from Wuhan lab. This was labelled as false by Facebook fact checkers. Of course, those supposed independent scientific reviewers relied on a group of experts who had vested interest in dismissing the theory, including EcoHealth, who had funded the Wuhan lab. When Twitter fact-checked and blocked the post stories about Hunter Biden's laptop as hacked materials, what was the basis? Nothing. It wasn't hacked. The company staff just wanted an excuse. Guess I didn't like our tone. In both of these cases, our fact-checks were lifted, but only after it no longer mattered. The fact-check industry is funded by liberal moguls such as George Soros, government-funded non-profits, and the tech giants themselves. The checkers are not the unbiased arbiters of truth. They are useful distractions group Facebook can use to absolve itself of responsibility. Free speech be damned. If you think that's written by someone like myself, who is labelled a conspiracy theorist, that comes directly from the New York Post. So basically, I mean, among many other places, but I pulled this story from New York Post because they're a very reputable news agency, and this is actually weirdly, and I've never seen this before. Actually, I'll show you this page. It's really bizarre. It's a New York Post article under... Oh, hang on, you can't see it. What if I do this? It's a New York Post article under the news.com.au headline.
Well, that's interesting.
But it's on the New York Post website. Well...
That's crazy.
So it's a New York Post article on the New York Post website, somehow involving news.com.au. But anyway,
owned by Murdoch, probably.
Well, they are. I mean, but the funny thing is, it's not asking me to subscribe. Most of the news.com.au stuff asks me to subscribe.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. But yeah. So basically, the short version of that is they went to court. I mean, for years. It's not hard. You can Google it. The fact checker companies are all owned by Facebook or Twitter or Murdoch or Soros, one of those who are all in bed together anyway. They're literally owned by those people, and they make no beef of it. They've said it dozens of times that's interesting. There's an article, Facebook aka Meta voted worst company in 2021. But they literally have admitted that they pay the fact checkers, like that the companies are offshoots of Facebook and whatever.
Yep.
But now they're saying not only are these companies an offshoot of Facebook, we also don't actually care what they check or what they write. The people who write it, and there's a quote in another article I was reading, Zuckerberg literally said that it's only their opinion that they write. We don't care if it's fact or not, as long as they write their opinion. So if you've had an article that's fact-checked, it's most likely correct because they're banning all the correct articles. As I've proven on my... If you can't follow me anymore. I've had to lock up my profile thanks to a couple of weirdos. But time and time again, I've put up false articles that I've specifically said are false articles, and they've stayed there. Yep. I put out articles that have the truth articles, and they have all the evidence behind them to support them. And within seconds of going up, they're labelled as false information.
Yeah.
So now Facebook's finally admitted that basically anything that's got a fact check on it that they say is wrong is pretty much right.
Somebody's personal opinion of it being right or wrong.
Well, not only somebody's personal opinion of it, somebody's personal opinion of it who is under the wings of George Soros or a government-funded non-profit or one of the tech giants.
Yeah.
That they're the people who are giving their opinion on whether or not the fact that you put up, the undeniable fact with all the proof behind it, they use their opinion to determine whether or not that's real.
Yeah. There you go, huh?
Do you see a problem with that? Because
I think I'm going to have a heart attack and die of not surprise.
Exactly, and a friend of mine actually posted this on my wall when the article broke, whenever it was, like a week ago.
Yep.
I said, and you're surprised by this? He goes, oh yeah, I really thought, and he was one of the ones who, believes everything is told by the mainstream media. And he's like, oh, I wouldn't think they'd do that. I thought they were, had more discretion than that, and it seems weird that they'd openly admit. I'm like, really? Are you listening to yourself right now? Well,
there's not going to be any repercussions if they admit it. I mean,
I've been telling you for the last 2 years that this is the case.
Yeah.
Like literally every couple of weeks, I'm telling you that this is the case. And it takes a mainstream media, which is actually technically on Facebook's side anyway, to vaguely report the truth about what they actually said. And then you believe them?
Yeah. That's how it goes.
Anyway. It's all fun and games until the laughing stops.
Yeah.
I think that's how it goes.
How about you?
No one wants to listen to me anymore.
Anyway, thanks for whoever's listening to the Aussie Tech Head Show. We can be found at Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, at Patreon and Coffee. Email us, Will or Warlock, at aussietechheads.com.au and go to aussietechradio.com, 24/7 playback of tech-related shows. See you sometime next year. Merry Christmas,
oh, yeah, that's
everyone.
right. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all those.
Bye.
See ya.
This is the song that doesn't end. Yes, it goes on and on, my friend. Some people started singing it, not knowing what it was, and they'll continue singing it forever just because this is the song that doesn't end. Yes, it goes on and on, my friend.
That's enough, guys.
Some people started singing it, not knowing what it was, and they'll continue singing it forever just because this is the song that doesn't end.
How do I turn you off?
Yes, it goes on and on, my friend.
Okay, I get the joke.
Not knowing what it was, and they'll continue singing it forever.
I can't believe you guys.
This is the song that doesn't end.
Okay,
Yes,
I've had it.
goes on
That's it.
and on,
That's
my
it.
friend.
What are you doing?
Some people started singing
What?
it, not
What is
knowing
this?
what it was.
Hey!
And they'll
No,
continue
this is the
singing
last
it
time, right?
because
This is it.
the song
This is it.
that
This is it.
Yes,
This
it
is not
goes
funny.
on and on, my friend. Some people
Okay, if you guys are gonna keep that up, I want you to go far, far away. Go, go, go. No. Keep on going. Woo, woo.
This is the song that...
Charlie, horse! No, stop. Charlie, stop. I want you to go away. Go away. And don't slam the...
Door.